Hi, how's everybody doing today? My name is Rico, the CEO and president of the Emporium Live. Today we have Tristan Law. He is a talent buyer from multiple venues on the seacoast of New Hampshire, a very avid reader, and near city councilman. I'm going to be discussing where Tristan got his start and how he got to where he is now, as well as talking about what a talent buyer does day to day. And we'll dive into some of the best practices on how artists can how artists can reach out to book shows and directly contact talent buyers. Things like how far in advance and what to include, as well as key points of interest that talent buyers actually look for when booking. And remember, the floor is open. The floor is open to questions throughout the whole interview. So if you have any, please ask, and we'll get your questions answered in real time. So if you want to just introduce yourself real quick, Tristan, and we'll dive in.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Tristan Law. I'm a town buyer and house promoter for 3S Art Space, the Press Room, and Book and Bar, all in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I have also one of the producers of the Westival, and I do consulting work for anyone that wants to host live events. In addition to throwing shows, I am now an agent for Eminence Arts, so representing a small but growing roster of artists
Nice.
in and around Seacoast. So, yeah, so it's good stuff.
Sure. So, I guess, how did you get your start into the music? I know you're wanting to be a writer at first.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks for doing the research. So I went to school for, I thought I would one day be a writer or a teacher. You don't know what the hell you're going to do for a while. And I still don't. So ended up with a humanities degree, which made me a pretty good bartender to pay the bills. And just by doing that, I ended up working at the Stone Church. I got a job there. My friend, Chris, had become a partner in there. And I was just about to head to grad school. And he was like, well, why don't you come up and help me out with this? I was in New York at the time. And I was like, all right, that sounds pretty good. So I thought it would just be like a year thing. And then I ended up sticking in there for a little while. So that was in the early 2000s.
The Stone Church.
And that's where, the Stone Church. And that's just where I got really exposed to. Back in college, I would throw house concerts and, you buy a keg to help pay the band. Folk shows in the living room and punk shows in the basement. And but the Stone Church that was like the first real experience that I had, like, of club shows, and was pretty much hooked from day one. Mm-hmm. And after my time there ended, I became a bar manager at the Press Room, and simultaneously started booking shows for the Red Door, which had a sweet little music series. And then as that went on, eventually I started booking the Press Room, and then I started with 3S, and here we are today. I mean, not that quick, but more or less, just attrition, keep going.
Yeah. So I guess what sparked your interest at the Stone Church, the whole feel of the live music, or because I'm assuming you've been to shows before,
Yeah. No, I grew up, doing like, punk rock shows, and was, I guess, a burgeoning fish head in my early teens. Following right up to Coventry. So this was like in the highest, and then, but just, I kind of came from a podunk town in New Hampshire where there wasn't as much live stuff going on. So, it was always a big expedition to go to a show, either down Boston or, and then I started off college in San Francisco, and that was just, or rather Berkeley. And that was just a whole new world. And I guess at the time I was a little homesick and didn't take as much advantage of the city as I should have. It was just still something I regret. So, but by the time I gotten back to New Hampshire and had some worldliness around me, it was just, every chance I could get, it was being around somebody with a guitar, or, some show. So, being an atrocious musician myself, by the way, but it was just, in fact, it was just like just wanting to have fun and make a good scene, throw a party for people, and usually with any good party, there's a good band. So,
yeah, we definitely
yeah. So yeah, so it's that's the kind of the bottom line of the whole business, I guess. You want people to have a good time.
Yeah, definitely. It's always a pleasure to look around and see everybody else having a great time and knowing that you helped put that together.
Yeah, if that's not happening, you're doing something wrong.
Definitely. So I mean, like, what are your day-to-day responsibilities? What are you looking to get into?
So yeah, I mean, day to day, as the venue's grown, like the kind of, I guess it's things aren't without consequence. So we're always looking at like ticket counts, making sure keeping track of all the shows that you have going on. Working with marketing teams and doing the marketing yourself. Also, in your spare time, keeping track of what's happening in music. So paying attention to the blogs and reading print magazines if you still do that, and going to shows if you can. So there's a lot of day-to-day stuff. It's nice to get on the phone with agents and kind of actually talk about, because a lot of times you'll speak to somebody working in New York and California that has never been to New Hampshire and doesn't know the scene. They just know, whatever club you're working for and cap size, and they, try to fit it in their jigsaw puzzle. So there's, it's just a million different little maintenance things happening all the time. And then, after 5 o'clock or, then the band shows up and then you get ready for the evening show.
So long days.
Yeah, long days, but good days. I still am lucky enough to get into the production side of it a little bit and be there for when the artist shows up. And then for settlement at the end of the night. Different clubs do it different ways. But that's still kind of my favorite, is just like interacting with, traveling artists and being like a friendly face when they walk in through the door. You spend 8 hours in a band, and, it means the world to somebody just to have a smiling face and then, a hot meal and, if you can provide a shower.
Yeah. Just some of the things you guys provide with touring artists. Are you guys looking to do, like, what kind of hospitality is offered?
Oh, yeah. It depends by the venue and, what you end up putting in, like a hospitality budget as you start doing bigger shows. Like, you budget out for your sound person, lights, and dinner. Usually a nice hot meal is what we try to provide. Depending on the venue, there's like a drink or two or coffee or some tickets towards that. Fewer and fewer people are boozing it up as much. I'm coming to find, it's more like, some goodie, some food, like a, clean water source. Some of the more high profile acts will ask for hotels and transport to and from, like, bus station, airport, or whatnot. But still in New Hampshire, we're pretty small time. Nothing too wild. Like, I'm not ever counting M&Ms for somebody, but it's it's important to read the rider, because bands do appreciate when you get that arcane item that they kind of snuck in there. Mm-hmm. Be it like a Financial Times newspaper or a certain kind of candy bar or something like that. It just shows that you care about them and that you're committed to doing the show.
For sure. Can you explain what a rider is for people who may not know?
Yeah, sure. So there's two types of riders. Riders is basically what the band needs to do the show successfully. So there's a tech rider, and that will be like the amount of, what technically they need, be it like monitors and inputs and outputs for their instruments, power sources. And, as the size of the stage, and as the act gets bigger, that gets more complicated. A solo folk artists will just need like a mic and maybe like a cable for the guitar. And then sometimes you get these 10-piece bands that, you know, you need like a generator to power. And then the hospitality rider is, you know, just the comfort stuff, you know, snacks for the green room, meals for the band. Usually we're working with a budget, you know, so it could be everything from $25 to $300 for food, depending on who you're feeding. Sometimes bands will like a buyout. And so instead of like an in-house meal, you just give them, you know, cash to go out and walk around the town. And that's sometimes nice because it takes stress off your cooks in the kitchen if you're doing that. And, you know, you're also supporting your local businesses around. You also, you know, sometimes they'll send you a rider and just pages long, and don't feel afraid to go through it with a Sharpie and just like, no, we're not getting you the Don Julio. We're not getting you the, you know, grapes of every color. You know, and what you do when you're going through the riders, you talk to the tour manager ahead of time. It's like, hey, what do you really need to make this successful? And I have $100 to spend.
Right.
How can we actually do this? So
sound reasonable.
mm-hmm.
Going off that, like, what kind of makes the shows a success? As a talent buyer, you're really responsible for booking that band and promoting it as well.
Yeah.
So it's a tough position to be like, hey, this band has to, well, not has to, but like should be able to fill the room, you know? And it would be nice if it every single time, but it doesn't happen like that.
No, it doesn't. And it's like, you know, cause of like hair recession and gray hairs and whatnot prematurely. No, you want, and that you do as much research as you can. If it's not like a local act that you've seen growing, that you know has a following, you know, you look at how many people are listening or following them on Facebook or Instagram. You see how many streams they have on Spotify. You can dig even deeper and see like who's Shazamming them. Like if they show up on that, you can look at trends. You look at their tour history, see what kind of rooms they're playing around the country. And that's just trying to see if, like, you know, we're Portsmouth or Seacoast, New Hampshire. It's a fairly small rural area compared to some of the bigger, you know, New York and more metropolitan. So I guess you're a C market, maybe a B minus, but so beyond that, so you book the show, you go in confident, you try to put them in the right room. You're like, oh, these guys are drawing 500 in Boston. Maybe they'll draw 200 here in Portsmouth. So you got them at the press room. And then from there, you work with marketing, you talk to band to post about the show before the actual day of, reach out to local radio stations. People still do listen to radio here and there. WNH is a great partner. WSCA here in Portsmouth has been a reliable one. And yeah, then you kind of just like hope and pray people come. It's been interesting, the shift in dynamics here in town, since I've been active in doing shows, as Portsmouth, I guess, has come a little more exclusive. It's more of a weekend warrior crowd than, so weekends are kind of easy picking, but you sort of pick the more palpable stuff, like the easy party music for the weekends. And then maybe some of the more avant-garde stuff for like a Monday, Tuesday, when I guess people that might be interested into it don't have to work in their kitchen or, hosting job.
Yeah, you really have to be on top of it, like knowing consumers as well as the bands. It's a lot of research on both sides.
Yeah, there's a bit. I mean, traditionally, like New England's like kind of like, you think New England jam bands, indie rock does really well. And as hip hop becomes the more dominant genre in touring music, I think it's more popular worldwide. It's kind of slowly starting to eke in here. There's a couple good promoters. Jamal Cooley's been doing a great job, building the scene around here. but still, that's not everybody's first look. And yeah, it's also, God, I'm sorry. I hope I'm doing okay for you.
No, you're doing awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the information.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep the questions coming. Just keep me on track here.
For sure. So if an artist is to reach out to you, what are some of the best things you've seen and comparative to like some of the worst you've seen?
Oh, sure. All right. So the worst is like, don't drop anything off at the venue anymore. I'd love to buy your CD or record or whatever, tape or something like that, or don't drop off a press kit. Email is everything these days. Hopefully you have a Bandcamp or Spotify somewhere easily linkable. And just, within a short sentence, like tell, what you're doing, who you're drawing, where you've played, like, and be honest. And when you could say like, I think I can get 20 people out, or I can get 50 out, or because, it's, if you've never played out before, you're not going to probably get a Saturday night gig, or even you've been doing at it for a while. If you're a local artist and kind of want to like break in, like, show that you can bring people out, and just be, I guess, persistent. But yeah. So the best emails I get are just like, hey, I'm Rico. I play, folk music. I got a guitar. I've been doing this for a couple of years. I can normally draw 20 to 30 people out. Here's a link to my music and here's a picture. And short, simple, and I'd be like, all right. Sometimes if the artist does a little bit of work and kind of looks down the calendar, like, hey, I'd like to open up for Cat Wright or Devendra Banhart. That's pretty helpful. And then we can work on getting that support gig lined up.
Nice.
And also just be polite and persistent, because sometimes I'll, get a lot of emails during the day and I'll forget to write you back in a given time. So, if I don't write back to you in like a week or so, feel free to get after me.
Cool. Just follow up.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not a friend of mine, like phone numbers or like texts aren't as appreciated. I'll list my phone number for business purposes, but when you try to do like every sorts of communication, that can get a little irritating.
For sure.
So I think that's like one of the big things too, is like, don't be annoying, be persistent, but annoying. It's like it's a tough line to walk.
Oh yeah. So if you have to be heavily involved with the community as well as the local scene and artists who are coming through when you're researching them. Do you book local artists to match up with headliners that are coming through that would have a good pull?
Yeah, it's as best we can. I think, there's a couple bands that, always are kind of like the go-to in the genres. And I hope there's a lot of like Seacoast bands developing that I haven't heard of, but so please get after me if you want. That's the dream pair. And just because budgeting is so tight sometimes that touring acts won't always have a local with the artist, so it's not up to me or the venue. Sometimes the band's just traveling with their homies, or the label wants to give this young group more exposure, and that's kind of how it is. Like, if you see like this band touring with somebody you've never heard of and you're like, oh, why is my band not opening for that? We're much better than these guys. They're usually just like either friends with the headliner or affiliated with either like the booking agency or the record label. And they're trying to bring more exposure to this band. So it's another patience thing. Ideally, we have 3 acts a night, so there's like a local supporting that can bring out a bunch of stuff, and then the traveling support, and then the headliner.
Sweet.
So try to make it where we can, and then always just strong local sports. So got it, local artists, and keep playing, get your fans out there. So that's part of it too. If you want to get on a bill, don't put your 10 friends on the guest list immediately. Hopefully they if they're your friends and they want to support you, they'll buy a ticket. That's sort of a pet peeve, is when you beg to get on a bill and then you comp everybody that would have already bought a ticket.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, if they're your friends, they'll support you. So
yeah, for sure.
Moms are okay to put on the guest.
Immediate family. Earlier you were talking about getting out and going to shows and kind of engaging and reading magazines to do your research of artists coming through or to book. Where do you see yourself going to see these smaller shows or local shows?
Oh gosh, outside of
the venues,
just the venues I do, I go up to like Portland quite a bit and down to Boston. The State Theater is my favorite, one of my favorite venues, and then also Port City Music Hall. Like Portland's got a great Sun Tiki up in Portland. It's just a fantastic space. I love seeing shows there. And then down in Boston, Great Scott, Sinclair, Paradise is like OG favorite. And so they're like, usually if they're playing a bigger room up there, where, I don't have the buying power to get them at one of my venues in Portsmouth, but I also, I pay attention to support. And cause that's the next big thing that's going to be coming through. And also it's just, just keeping availability. And if you see a band you like, if you're an aspiring talent buyer, just like, hey, reach out to the manager or their agent. Just, hey, I saw these guys in Boston last night. Thought they were phenomenal. I book a room in Portsmouth. If you're ever coming through and need a date, hit me up. And people like to hear that personal connection, that you're really a fan, because I think sometimes that gets lost once you get into the biz a little bit, like that. Forget that we're all just music fans at heart.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Could you kind of go into what an EPK is and some things to include on it? And is it something you look for?
I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I was talking about EPKs and
the electronic press kit. Yeah.
Yeah, if you could talk about that a little bit, and then also, is it something you look for?
Yeah, they're helpful. Just a link. It's good to have like a short bio, a long bio. Links to all your socials or where you are in streaming. Quick, like, just so I don't have to do too much work. Yeah. To put it bluntly,
easier.
And just it also, like, if you're building put like touring history and links to any press about you, just like if we do book a show, stuff to help me sell you. And this is I guess as much good information, not a bio piece that's 5 years old. Like what's new. If you have a new album in the works, like that's fine to share too. But just I guess fewer clicks for me, like, so I don't have to do any Google searches.
And I know deals like booking deals are different from venue to venue, especially with your the venues you have under your belt. Definitely different size venues, different vibes, I'd say, as well. So can you just touch base on some of the booking deals that artists can look forward to?
I guess your basic deal is you're going to look for some sort of door deal. Ideally you start from some $1. Sometimes venues will say you get 80% of the door after our house nut, like be it $100 or $200 or $300.
Like a percent and BOR.
Yes. So you exactly. So you start in the negative and have to work your way up. And then for other artists, you'll have, a guarantee that you set. So whether one person shows or you sell out, like they're going to make X amount of money. Sometimes it's a flat fee, or other times you'll have points after a split point. So a split point, so the artist would make their guarantee, say it's $2,000, and then you're working with a venue and covering your costs. That's the hospitality expenses we talked about. That's the sound person, the light person, your door staff, your taxes, your insurance. So you lump that all into a fee. Sometimes you will have itemized, and other times you'll just roll into a house nut. Usually, like sometimes smaller venues will just say, "Give us $300." So you take the artist guarantee, $2,000. Say expenses for the 3S would be $1,500. So after $3,500, that's your split point. So then you have another percentage after that. So like, say the artist will take 80% after your split point. So for every dollar after 3,500, they get 80 cents, and the venue takes 20 cents. So that's, as you get bigger and bigger and more complicated. Sometimes more people are just happy to take like a flat fee, so you don't get into all that nitty gritty. And it's always good if you're doing that stuff and to not inflate your expenses too much, because good tour managers will catch that right away, and be like, "Oh, did you really spend $400 on advertising?" Because there were 4 people here.
I'll see receipts. Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Is moving, in this COVID-19 world, you're going to be seeing a lot more door splits moving off, just as venues have been waylaid and won't have the cash output to offer as many guarantees. And even though artists will be kind of clamoring for some sort of cash assurance, probably you can do what you can, I guess. Sometimes you'll do like a versus deal. So you'll get like $100 versus 80% of the door, whatever greater. So you can set sort of a smaller thing. So at least they have gas money to walk out of the place with. So there's hundreds of different deals out there. Some really good, some not that great.
Yeah. The artist can really see it, whether if they're a risk to the venue or not. Like, it's pretty much how many people can come through and how many. Do you guys do bar deals as well? Do you roll those into deals sometimes? Or
sometimes I haven't done one of those in a long time, but there's places out there that will just give a band like a cut of the bar while they're playing, and that's actually some more of the bar gigs. You'll get say 20-30% of the bar from 9 to midnight or whatever. So that's kind of usually if you're not charging like a cover at the door or whatever.
That's good.
Yeah.
That actually was a perfect segue into some of the current events that I wanted to discuss about, like what's happening with COVID in the industry, and what's your take on it?
Everything's fucked.
Completely. I was just thinking today how like sad it is. I was like, wow, I haven't really been to a show in a long time, and I'm like a very avid show like goer, I guess.
Yeah, you're not going to go to one for a while. I
know.
Or none of us. It's really hard, man. It's like, I think on like the most extreme level, they're saying, things aren't going to get back till like fall of 2021. And that's like your festivals, your arena shows. But even our smaller venues around here in the Seacoast, New Hampshire, like say things start back up June 1st or whatever, like who's going to be first in line to go to a show?
Oh yeah.
And there may be, capacity restrictions. Like even if we can open up for live music, are you really going to want to go one stand in a circle 6 feet away from everybody? Like kind of, you're seeing live music, but it's not quite the same. For seated stuff, are you 6 people down, like, I don't know. And it's just so the venues aren't going to be able to make enough money to pay the artists. The artists are going to probably have a lame time because there's 4 people in the crowd. And everyone's still worried about it being sick. So it's going to be a while. We're looking at the summer and hoping to get back with some stuff, but doing it, realistically thinking that, we might have to cancel and postpone everything until next year. So fingers crossed. If people keep social distancing as they should, and, it's kind of stamped out, maybe, best case scenario, we'll get back to it this summer, but, we're also expecting this thing to flare back up. So it's a bummer. This whole industry literally depends on, you and 100 of your best friends crowding together and having the best night ever. Exactly. And when, there's no good way to experience live music, far apart from people. It's all about like experiencing a moment together. So until, we can actually be safe together, it's going to be rocky.
Oh yeah. Has it been a lot of work on your side? Catching up with everybody and rescheduling? Yeah,
the first few days were a nightmare. It's just like, the bottom had dropped off, and it's like, you have your senior thesis, and your dog ate it or something like that. It's just like something you worked so hard on. It's just like months of work just gone in a blink of an eye. So shows have been getting rescheduled. At first it was like, I was like, all right, we'll move this to June. And then it's starting to dawn like, June's probably not going to happen. But now, everything, as much as we can, it's kind of like late summer and fall, and you're just kind of praying you don't have to do it again. And that said, even if fall happens, everyone's calendar is going to be so jam-packed. It's just going to, I don't know. It's good for somebody that likes options, I guess, because everything's going to be happening.
I've been it's very tough right now, because like even if you are trying to rebook your shows for the fall, like the fall's already booked, so like
they have some of the bigger festivals that tried to reschedule. I mean, Coachella and Bonnaroo got out in front of it pretty far, and they were able to grab those weekends. But like, by the time Boston Calling canceled, like there wasn't anything left to move, because you're getting into like Austin City Limits and all the other fall festivals out there. And the same with venue. Like, we live in a small market, and there's only so many people to attract to, and so that's something you also keep in mind when you're booking. It's like, oh, what's happening at the Stone Church that night? What's happening at Seacoast Rep? What's what else are people going to want to do? It's like sometimes somebody will have a birthday party and fuck everything up just because there goes 40 people that you count on to go to a show. So that so you have to reel in expectations a little bit. So that's also been one of the things. So not only do you reschedule the shows, like you have to restructure the deal that was once pretty amenable to both sides, and now make it kind of janky, like, hey, what if we can't sell 400 tickets? How is that going to work? Or what if we have to cancel this again?
It's pretty much starting over.
Yeah, and no one has a blueprint for this too. And,
exactly.
Meanwhile, venues are starting to drop like flies, I guess, just because you can't afford to keep your employees, or if you have to refund, $100,000 in tickets and, pay the gas bill. it's a pretty tough time. Hopefully, some of the government money starts coming in soon, so places will stay open. I'm fortunate that every place I work with has a plan to come back. Knock on wood. But it's going to be, different than what we were looking at on March 10th.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think it's so important that these small venues live through this, because that's where a lot of artists, like we were saying earlier, like talent buyers are looking for that engagement, that those follow-ins, how much can you pull, and also like
I'll tell you, man, the small shows are still, it's great when we pull off a big one and everyone's stoked, but like catching somebody like really nailing like their first show at like a book bar, or, the first time, and just really watching like an artist grow. Small venue shows are still the best.
Always.
Yeah. And they're, even before this, they were in trouble just because like the big promoters are kind of, people are just they're going to see the Taylor Swifts and the Cardi B's at the TD Gardens and not forking over the $5 to go see whomever at their local venue, which is a shame because that's how things grow.
Exactly.
And there's already, so many other, people just stay home and watch Netflix, which is fine. Been doing a lot of Netflix myself, but you never regret going out to see a live show, and it's probably even better when it's like something surprise, somebody you've never heard of, and it's like, oh wow, this girl can sing, or man, that guy can play the horn. So, and that's like, just there's something magical about the small little places, the intimacy. It's hard to recapture on a bigger scale.
Yeah, but that's my worry, is that these smaller venues kind of fade away, and it'd be harder for artists to break through and get those first shows, as well as a little bit of me is a little nervous about like Live Nation rolling through and scooping up these small venues because they have that backpack.
Yeah. Well, Live Nation's not going to have too much money left over. But no, it happened. And, one of the good things about Live Nation and, Michael Rapino, their CEO, is a smart guy and really cares about it. And they can put on a hell of a show and they can provide for the artists. But you're right. Like, as they do that, like, it's just harder for the smaller guys to compete. And, you're not going to be able to have like the same light break with the same sound. Or, a small place can't guarantee the artists that will drag in people that their local homegrown, fans can support. So it's tough. And so on the other side of this, maybe there will be a boon in local music, in smaller independent venues, hopefully, knocking on wood. Or it may be that just like the two wealthy ones are left standing, and that's what we're left with. I don't think so. I think, there's always going to be somebody that wants to have music at their coffee shop or in their bar. It's going to look different, but it's always a challenge. A lot of people think that having live music is a great idea, and then you find out what a pain in the ass it is, and how expensive it is.
You really have to do it for the love. You really do.
Yeah, man. It's like at the end of the day, like, I went out. I wasn't getting rich before, but pretty near broke now, and went out and banged nails with a buddy today just to keep this dream alive. Like, and even like artists, like no one's, unless you're, Bon Jovi or Madonna, like, it's like the 1% or the 0.01% really make it that big. Like, there's so few people that actually really, I don't know what your definition of succeed is, but if it's to get rich and famous and be everywhere, then it's, a very, very rare thing that happens. And I guess I've been doing it for long enough now. Like, people, bands that started, I think the percentage of bands that are still playing is, when I started booking, it's, less than 20%.
Yeah.
You do it for a little while, and then once, you hit your 30s, like traveling in a van and sleeping on a couch or on a floor, it gets a little older. You start, well, maybe I will use that computer science degree, or, see what philosophy, you revisit those college choices.
For sure. You were talking about the magazines, and I guess.
Oh yeah. I guess magazine. I was like, that was I don't look at a magazine for artists. I read a couple the newspapers. Sorry, but
you listen to Polestar or
yeah. So I guess it's like the blogs I read. There's Polestar and Billboard. Some of the artsier ones, Pitchfork, Stereo Gum, Consequence of Sound. There's you just pay attention, see who people are writing about. Sometimes, like, I guess one of the challenges of being in New Hampshire, not in an urban market where everyone's paying for, like, there's probably someone like you that really follows the trends. And so if I got so-and-so, up and coming artists that no one's ever heard about, you'd be stoked. But, so there'd be you and me at the show and nobody else. So there's, sometimes you got to watch, I made plenty of mistakes by booking artists here in town before their time had come.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, by the time they're ready to play Portsmouth, they've gotten too big and, they're ready. You can't give them enough money to play a press room or 3S show. There's little windows that you get. And that's one of the most satisfying person is when you book somebody for no money and they get famous in between, signing the contract and playing your show. That's happened a couple times, and it's very gratifying.
For sure.
Yeah. But it's, it's always gratifying, the moment, the artist finishes their first song and people that have forked over their hard-earned cash and they've given up a night and, blowing off friends, and they're there, and, you get this room full of people and they just go, woo, and they clap. And then, that's why it makes it all worth it always.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to, when we were having shows, to be able to do that multiple times a week. So that feeling never gets old.
I can imagine. And plus you get to see everybody smiling faces when they see a band, and they want to come through.
But I guess back to blogging. And one of the things is, you can read them all. I've just kind of started following like a couple journalists or critics that I really like and admire. And if you read their writing, it's about reading, liking their writing. And the way they dissect things, like John Caramanica from the New York Times. I'm not, great with hip hop, and he's educated me to no end. So I go back and read some of his catalog, and now I think I'm a better listener.
Nice. Are there any locals?
Yeah, there's just any locals
that you listen to?
Any what? I'm sorry.
Any local publications that you listen to or read?
I wish, I think, as far as I know, our kind of arts papers got gutted a few years ago. My friend Chris Hislop still covers the scene. He and I went to high school together. Yeah. So I always read what he listens to so much. He's much better about listening to local music than I am. So I often turn to him. I'll listen to the River. He was coming out of Boston. But sadly, it's the way with anything local, there's not too much budget for the papers to have an art section and somebody writing the beat and covering stuff. There's some good, okay stuff out of Boston, like Boston Hassle and Bonnyland, Alston Pudding. They get some artists out of there. If there's somebody doing a Seacoast, New Hampshire blog, I'd love to read it. I'd love to hear about it. I don't know if you're doing it with Emporium. That'd be pretty rad.
We are trying to start one. Yeah, we are talking to a few journalists and getting it going. Very gratifying.
Oh, there you go. It's so very necessary.
Oh yeah.
To have a good, if you're going to have a good art scene, you need somebody writing critical pieces about it. And the funny thing with criticism is, in the days of clapbacks, Lizzo getting after a journalist about throwing her a little shade, I think people, need criticism. It's, don't need to be nasty or snarky, but just say how their music affected you. Not every piece needs to be a puff piece for glorifying. Sometimes songs aren't that great. Sometimes shows are boring, and it's helpful to the consumer to know, that it's out there.
Sure. That kind of segues into the next subject was if you were on the city council at this moment, this unprecedented moment, what would you be doing for the art scene? What would you try to advocate for?
Sure.
Just a little back.
City
he ran this past year for city councilman.
Yeah. I've run for the city council twice, basically just kind of as like a self-preservation. Just because I see the sound getting richer and older, and everybody that used to go to shows kind of being priced out or moving out, and nobody moving in to take their place. So I wanted to run just to, I guess you can't keep the market prices down, but just be a voice for the venues and for somebody that doesn't make $1 million a year. Just upper public transportation, so people that live in the surrounding scenes can get to and from. Sometimes you can get to Portsmouth, but if you're here past 10 o'clock, you can't get a bus home. Or if you do take the bus from wherever, it's going to take 2 hours because it stops at the Foxhorn Mall because everybody goes to the mall. So just to be able, but I guess if I was on a city council right now, just keep an ear at our representatives in Congress and the Senate. There's lobbying right now to protect independent venues. I'd be there. I'd be, just keeping it so it's, they did a great thing, expanding it to protect gig workers. But I'm not sure if anyone's actually received those checks yet, and people in this business don't have like a huge treasure trove to sit back and relax on like anything. People go gig from gig. So I think there would be some protections there. I don't know how much power the city council has with landlords, but anything that would prevent people from evicting either a tenant or a business that provided any sort of service. I think those should be put on hold right now, just while it's physically impossible to make money. I think that's by no fault of anybody's own. Like there's zero cash coming in. So anything to protect, businesses. That's, I guess, one of the big fears is that after all this, landlords kick out the remaining local businesses, and then it's all just, Dave and Buster's and Chuck E. Cheese's in the Sound. I mean, that's the nightmare scenario. So, but like, I think the biggest thing that a city council can do right now is, be a microphone for their populace and just be in the ear of the, elected representatives in Congress and Senate. Chris Pappas, Maggie Hassan, Gene Shaheen, even our governor, just be after him.
No, I definitely share your views, no doubt. I love what you're talking about.
I guess like for everyone, it's just like, what the fuck can you do?
Exactly.
It just, but be vocal. I think there's an impetus, at some point to just like maybe give up hope a little bit and just keep in people's ear. There's just the one time say that, be annoying, like be on the phone with your congressperson, get those protections. Don't let them give all the bailout money to big businesses, because, make sure those small businesses survive, because that's how we'll keep this industry alive in our area.
No, extremely important. So what have you been up to during the COVID? Just on a personal side, like been reading. I know I've been reading. I actually went out and bought a guitar to quarantine myself.
Oh, that's good, man. You play guitar?
Yeah, kind of. Not really. I've been playing I've been playing off and on throughout the years, but I finally got a guitar that I can jam on, and it's no, I'm not the greatest, very new.
It's all right, man. It's good. I actually have a banjo that I should be picking on, but I haven't done that yet. I've been reading a lot. I think it took me a bit to just like sort of embrace the downtime. Took a while to unwind. And I guess, it'd been many years since I'd had a real vacation of sorts. So um, it kind of just took it for what it was and enjoyed it for that. Um,
Definitely
running. Yeah. Just like, well, there's nothing else I can do. So I just might as well, have a little staycation. I have a girlfriend that lives with me. So we hanging out. We have a dog.
Nice. What kind of dog do you have?
Just a little island mutt.
Nice. My girlfriend lives with me too, and we have a coonhound, a big hound dog.
Oh yeah, big dogs they're fine. I don't know if she's around here, but yeah, just doing the things you can't do when you're working, 15, 20-hour days. I feel pretty well rested. The springtime now, so I have a little garden plot here, so getting that ready.
Nice.
Getting that ready to go. Just enjoying the longer days. The peepers are out now, so it's fun to go for a run and just hear the sounds of spring. I guess just taking time.
Yeah.
Not trying to stress too much. There's those moments for sure where it's just like, oh, my life is over. I stay in touch with the venues, and we're doing the rescheduling, and I recently joined up. I became an agent with Eminence Arts, just a little booking agency. So I have
that over with Scott.
It is with Scott.
Cool. Yeah.
So I talk to Scott every day, and just talk to the artists just about like what our plans are. Like we had tours through the summer that are kind of still hanging on for now, but there's a certain point there's just not too much you can do. Today I went and banged some nails with a buddy just to get a little cash flow going and get out of the house. How about yourself? What are you doing? You got the guitar, you got the girl, you got the dog.
Yeah, a little bit of school left, online courses, I guess, and then the guitar and a ton of hiking. I'm about to knock out.
Where can you still?
What?
Oh, I was just where can you still go hiking like the White Mountains and stuff? Are the trails still open?
Yeah. I mean, the White Mountains are always open 24/7, 365, but they are very icy still.
Yeah.
It's a good, like, I don't know, we were walking and my girlfriend fell like to her waist in snow. But it's like it's kind of packed down. Definitely a big base of powder, but more like packed ice at this point.
Are they still?
Go out there, go out on a sunny day because it's gorgeous still.
Awesome. Yeah, are there a lot of people on the trails, or are people like doing the social distancing up there?
Yeah, you walk by somebody, you gotta give them space. Even the dogs are social distancing. So.
That's cool. What else can I talk to you about? Oh, sorry.
No.
A bit scattered.
No worries. I'm looking at my questions now. I think you covered everything that I had on point. I mean, we dove into your background. We talked about some key points of interest.
I think.
Well, how about imagine if someone wanted to become a talent buyer. What would their road be to become a talent buyer, as well as what kind of deals are they looking for? Like, how do talent buyers get paid themselves?
Oh yeah. Okay.
And we have about 7 minutes.
Okay. I guess apparently you can go to school now to become, to get a music. I think were I to do it again, say I was in college and not going to be a poet or whatever, if I wanted to become a talent buyer, I'd take some class, communication classes. That's good. Just networking and deal making, getting some accounting skills would be helpful. Make sure you're pretty handy with like Office Pro, Excel. If you have any graphic design skills, just kind of being a jack of all trades, because it's usually people start out is promoting shows themselves. So all this stuff that you need to have a successful skill. And then, I think you go and you work for a venue. If you have a favorite club, apply there. And, you might start off by doing security or the door, or on the production side, being like an audio assistant, or and just get in and start working your way up. And at some point, just let the town buyer know that you want to book shows. It's, there's only so many of us. So like the turnover rate's kind of, I guess, slower. So it's sort of the thing you need to be patient with. But, inevitably people retire, get hired. And then there's like the ladder, and sometimes, I don't know, maybe if you think you can do a better job than the person doing it, I guess you could always ask if for a certain venue if they're happy with their town buying services. One of the reasons I can do it, or I'm able to do it and live in town, is just like the scale. I don't make a ton of money, but I do it for a few places. You cobble together stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the promotion side of it too. Like if you want to throw a show, you just go rent a venue and have a show. And if you do that well enough, like maybe the venue will ask you if you want to do it more full time, or for them.
Nice. Do you work with promoters?
For the venues that I work with, like, I'm the in-house guy, so we don't do too much outside stuff. There's other times I'll go into other rooms or Masonic temples or something like that and throw a show if we don't have a date, or, if there's a fun idea. But yeah, places have, if people have like an in-house talent buyer, they're not usually going outside, but it's just like an open room. They're usually pretty amenable to being, if you want to go in and throw a show and can provide a PA and don't mind losing your shirt, most places are happy to open their doors to you.
Sure.
So I think just like a willingness to do that. And if a place is assured to not lose money, most, they'll be for it. Like if I can bring 200 people in and sell the bar out, I guess that's how you do it. There's no real blueprint to get in it. Like I just sort of kind of, I fell into it and just like a knucklehead kept going with it. But yeah, just work with people that you like, that inspire you, that to have like a similar or different taste. Like I kind of come from a punk rock and folk world, and recently have been kind of partnering up with more people that know more about like electronic and hip hop, or just what can you add best to a scenario? Like where are your talents available? I wish I had enough money to hire assistants, because I would. It'd be helpful. But yeah, it's just I guess just having the passion for it. Be willing to like lose your shirt.
And
I would.
Go ahead.
Oh no, go for it.
All right. And how can talent buyers look to get paid? Are you guys a employee of the venue, or is it
sure
promoter profit?
Different ways, so for some venues, like I guess I'm on the staff at 3S, and then for Book and Bar and Press Room, I'm an independent contractor. So I charge them a flat fee per month, based on approximate hours. Sometimes there's bonus for, things do pretty well. But there's also times that, if something bombs, I'm not going to like seek that out. So, and I'm pretty conservative in it. Just I'm happy and fortunate to be doing what I'm doing. So, you just kind of figure out I guess the hardest part was figuring out what my time was worth. And then you're just asking for it. I ended up sometimes doing a little bit more work if I feel it's needed, but yeah, there's different ways. And if you're going to from the promoter side, like, you know, you build in the percentage, like a, you know, promoter profit off of the gross sales. You build an expense line. Yeah, there's lots of, you know, you can kind of pave your own road.
Yeah.
How you want. I you know, I guess I'm pretty cheap, so that's why people keep me
I love
around.
the whole open canvas aspect of it. It's fairly cool. Very,
yeah, and it's one of the things that you work with the individual venues to find out like something that works best for the both of you. And it's, you know, it's best to be clear and upfront always, because it's quite a bit of work, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't do you know, 6 months into the job to like try to renegotiate. Usually I, you know, ask, you know, if I go on like a pretty good streak, that's when I start thinking like, oh, maybe I'll get a little bonus out of this or something like that. But then there's usually some financial disaster. You know, yeah, it's just like you know, it's like the three things you try to, you got to make the venue happy, and you have to make the artist happy, and you have to make the customers happy. And if you can do all three, then you're doing a pretty good job. I try not to rank one higher than the other, because, you know, everyone needs each other. The artist needs the venue, the venue needs customers, and, you know, customers need both. So
exactly, it's really bridging a gap between venues, bands, and fans, and that's our purpose as the Emporium.
yeah.
I do have another question for you about Eminence. So you're a manager, right? A tour are you just going to be a band manager or a tour manager?
So right now, like an agent / manager, I've gone out on the road before with bands is in the TM capacity, which is like, that's a whole nother ball game. Which is a lot of fun, and I would recommend it to everyone. But I think don't get out on the road too much right now. But you know, as like the manager, I would coordinate with them. But, you know, right now I act as the liaison between the venue and the artists, and, you know, all those steps.
Nice. And do you mind me asking which artists you have under your belt right now?
Yeah, sure. So I work with a few. I just signed the Kenny brothers, one of our local.
Really? They're actually coming on sometime next week.
Oh, great. Work with a young kid who does great electronic stuff. His name's Tommy. He goes by Glass Arrowhead.
Yeah, we went to high school.
Do Moroccan dub jazz outfit out of Boston, Dub Apocalypse, great alternative like roots band, Martin England and the Reconstructive. It's a great punk band out of Providence, Jim Shorts. This psychedelic folky out of Los Angeles, Lucy Arnell. Another kind of trippy folky out of New York, Odetta Hartman. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Oh, and Planes, my babies, Planes.
Oh, sweet. They actually played the basement show at the Emporium at college. The reason I got suspended.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, they're wonderful, and they were actually the first band I signed to Eminence, and it's just it's neat after so many years of working for the venues just to work directly with the artists that I care about instead of trying to screw them over.
Exactly.
That was a joke, but yeah, just try to fulfill their dreams, and these guys are all at like a point where they can be, you know, busy enough to not worry with all like the hassle. Dealing with people like me and you.
So what are you up to as the manager? Sorry, I kind of broke up there.
Yeah. So as you know, as her manager, just not too much at the moment. You know, Delph, we're working on a festival out in San Francisco. right now. Jim Shorts had a run out to Chicago through Canada that we're still, kind of trying to see if that's happening. It's kind of like the hurry up and wait sort of thing. Lucy and Odetta have like a July tour. I'm touching base with them, see if they're still into it, and touching base with the venues to see if they're all still open. None of these guys are playing Madison Square Garden, so like they're on the smaller side of clubs. So those will be the first to reopen. So right now, fingers crossed will be good in July and August. But should those shows start dropping, then we'll look for the reschedule date and try again in the fall. But yeah, just keep in touch with all the artists, making them know that I care about them, believe in them, and anyway, if I come see somebody that's offering money for a band, I forward it out to them, suggest them submit for that. So trying to keep them working during this.
Nice. And you believe all these bands are ready for a manager? I know, as an indie artist, I'm not myself, but like as an indie artist, it's tough to weigh a manager, because the manager, that's like when you bring a manager on, they're part of the band at that point, and they definitely are worth paying out as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying not to fuck up too much. As someone that's been doing on the other side for a long time, it's it's still like learning to swim. This is like a whole new ball game, and so I'm hopefully getting the learning curve pretty well. I think it's all the artists that I work with have immense potential, and I maybe there's a case that I'm here too early, but if you believe in somebody and have the time and motivation, then I guess there's no too early. Like, you want to work with them and see them succeed. And I'm happy to have whatever expertise I have to like lend them on their mission.
Yeah. Well, they definitely have a great advantage with a talent buyer on their side,
Yeah, I mean, there's always a hometown show.
Emails.
Yeah, you have to watch out for conflict of interest, which is a whole nother story.
For sure.
But yeah, it's been great, and it's really just I guess reinvigorated me a little bit. Just like learning something new, and there's an excitement there. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, I wanted to thank you for taking the time and coming on to the show today. Again, this is
Rico. Thank you, everybody, for. I just appreciate you having me on, and it was a lot of fun. And if anyone has any further follow-up questions, I guess you can find me on Instagram, or my email is just tristanklaw@gmail.com. Give a holler if you have any follow-up questions. So
sweet. All right. Well, thanks for the time.
Yeah, man. Thank you. We'll have a good